Hello and welcome back to Business with Smith Co. Today we're going to be talking about the reasons why a firm might choose to expand. This is part of the expansion series. Yes. Okay, anyway, so the reason why a firm expands, well, there are actually multiple reasons why a firm might expand. They're actually divided into three parts. You've got psychological, you've got defensive, and you've also got offensive. So, first of all, you've got the kind of first one, which is entrepreneurial drive to succeed. This is be psychological. So, when most people think of entrepreneurs, they visualize driven, generally hardworking and successful people. Ambitions are to build a business empire, or, on behalf of owners or managers might be a motivating force for business expansion. Now, some entrepreneurs are hungry for success and will not stop until they've actually received this kind of goals. So there are often times you have this where businesses will be worth billions. Their CEOs or their founders will be worth billions. They'll have loads of money and the business they have is very successful. But they'll still go ahead and they'll still crush the competition. They'll still destroy the lives of the owners of their, maybe smaller competitors. Like, let's say there's a competitor like cars. Let's say they control 90% of the industry they're in, and obviously they can't control all of it because then they'll get into a legal issue because they'll be like, well, that's called a monopoly, guys. We don't want that now. We don't want that at all. But they're still 90%, so they still got a nice chunk there. But they go, okay, well, we can't. Let's say the cap they have there is 96%. So okay, we're going to get to the 5%. So now we're going to get the small business. We're just going to push them out. Boom, boom, boom. And then expand to the other areas. And all these other areas, it's like, well, the entrepreneur wants to succeed. Now, of course, obviously, the problem is that sometimes this is like at the cost of others. Like, at a certain point, for example, let's say you're earning, let's say you already are worth 10 million. The likelihood is if you earn any more money, you're basically taking from others because you have so much money in the bank that it's like, well, you literally, by earning more, are taking from everyone else. And the problem with that is that, well, realistically, it's like, okay, well, sure, maybe you'll be happy because you succeeded, but see, here's the thing. By doing that, you have just increased world poverty. And if you talk about billions, suddenly this world poverty issue becomes far, far greater. This issue of billionaires where, like, you make more and more money all the time. It's like, well, that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, hold on a second, though, but that means there's less money for everybody else. And if one person has £1 billion, well, now for every 7 billion quid, 7-8 billion quid, like that's £1 less for literally everybody else. Now, you have all these kind of examples where you've got entrepreneurs that their entire idea is not really, to succeed, not to, I want to own my own business and be successful and not have to, work for someone else. It's literally, I want to achieve my personal goal. I want this level. It's like, well, that kind of level of success, first of all, it's unusual to reach that level of success, so no. And second of all, it's at the cost of others a lot of the time. Because, when you come to when you come to big businesses, it generally is at the cost of others. But that's a psychological thing you have there. But you also have defensive. So you have diversification. So this would be diversifying is the expanding to spread the risk of the business faces. So if business is reliant on only one type of product in the one market or in the one country for sales, it would be a very risky thing. For example, let's say these videos were only available in my country. Now, there aren't that many views for them, but for like the actual practical purpose, like, there are very few amount of customers you can get to. There are only a certain amount of customers you can get to, but if you take this to a world view, well, technically, like, for example, a YouTube video can gain 1 billion views, technically. It can gain, there are these kind of things where basically, what is your maximum, what size is your market? Because if it's a very small market, I'm not saying it's a small market, I'm just saying it's very small in the sense that, like, you have reached the maximum potential, anything like that, then obviously, this, say what psychological, you might want to grow, and also you might have to grow, because if you're reliant on things going, well, if the country you're in or the market you're in has a downturn in the economy, the business might be hit very badly. Now, obviously, they can offset this risk by, exporting to other countries or moving into other areas. So, for example, you have all these kind of things where, people oftentimes, they have this kind of thing where they sell more than one product. Yeah. For example, you can view business videos or history videos or all sorts of videos. That's right. We've got loads of them available. So, even if you don't want to watch business videos, you can watch history ones, all sorts of things. So that kind of where it's like, okay, well, this particular industry might have downturn. So, all these kind of things. And I would say one main example for this would be like, what comes to mind would be Samsung. Like Samsung has a load of different businesses that are in various different industries. And then what this also means is that, let's say you've got an industry you want to move into. As a basic business, it's going to be very hard to move into this industry and get investors because they're going to be like, well, we want to share. But if you go, oh, well, I already have, let's say you're a business, you go, well, I already have a few grand coming in and I'm going to risk, the few grand that you could put in my own pocket, but I'm going to risk a few grand from my already successful business to expand the business in here. And that's the kind of thing you have here. It means that also if another competitor comes into the market, which is, fairly likely, especially in certain industries, then if they're cutting prices or if they're, a bigger business, if you've got a massive business that, like, let's say you've got a business that is massive in one industry. Now, obviously, if they come into your area, then they might crush you. But obviously, if you're in multiple markets, then they won't crush you. They might crush a section of your business. And it might still be terrible for you, but it won't be necessarily the end of you if you have this kind of diversifying. You also have the ability to protect the central stock of suppliers. So, a business might find a great supplier of products of raw materials, and they might want to guarantee the continued supply. So they might decide, if they're big enough, well, we've got the money, why not just take over the supplier? Now this is called reverse integration of the supply chain. Now what this would do is it would give the business a competitive edge over other business, or if it wouldn't give them a competitive edge, it would give them the same level. Like if other businesses are doing the same thing, it would give them the same level, so they wouldn't be below. Now, this also could prevent other businesses from sourcing the same goods or raw materials. Business might also enter the same market for which it previously purchased raw materials and goods. So this kind of is a bit of a stab in the back in a way. Like if I'm a very successful business and I source products from this company, and this company is relatively small, but obviously I'm not in that market. So it doesn't matter that that company is smaller than I am. They're still bigger than I am in that industry because I'm not in that industry. I'm in a totally different industry. But if I go into that industry and okay, we're gonna set up our own place here. Oh, by the way, feck you. Just saying, like, cause we are bigger than you, so yeah, we can fund a lot more money in here, and we are going to crush you. Yeah, it's that kind of. It's a bit sound the market, but I guess you could say, in a way, it's this kind of defense strategy. Now, you also have this kind of thing when you see a particular company, I'm going to call Nile. So they buy books from publishers to sell online. But that's the past. You now see that this particular company have become the publisher. Now, obviously, this increases profit margins on the books that they sell. And this also reduces any sort of reliance they have on these things. Like, for example, if I have my book on Nile, and I go, okay, so I'm gonna do this thing, and it's like, it's the same situation I would say with social media, which is like, in a way, you're kind of self-publishing, but you're not really, because if you're self-publishing, you are going to the printers and you're saying, I'm going to print the book. But when you go this, it's more like it's an agent, because you're not directly going with the consumer. It's not your website. It's not your thing. You are saying to this website, to the social media platform, here's my stuff, here's my book, here's my, whatever the case may be, and give it to people. Or sell it to them, and they go, okay, let's take a look, and they might go, no real interest in that, and you can go away now. Or you might go, oh yeah, sure, fine, we'll just here we are, 300,000 people. There we are. There. Now this is the kind of thing you have here. So this situation I have here, man, it's okay. Yeah. Now, you also have economies of scale. You see, as the firm expands, the average cost of producing each unit falls because of factors such as bulk buying, savings in transport, and lower storage costs in large warehouses. Now, the lower cost per unit means a much higher profit margin per product. Also, lower sales prices, well, they will tend to drive up the competition. Now, I would say sometimes you have this kind of defensive strategy which borders on offensive. Like, I would say offensive is more like, well, when you look at like psychological, it's like, well, you want to, but you want to because like you need to because you want to, in a way. Like you feel like I want to do this, and then obviously you need to achieve those psychological aims. But offensive reasons will be more just to grow the business, just to increase the profit, just to increase market share, just that kind of thing. So I would say in some cases, defensive reasons do border on offensive reasons. They're just like, well, if you have this kind of idea where it's like, okay, I need to do this because of competition, and it's like, well, yes, but that still does border on offensive because that competition is then crushed, and that's, offensive, But, it's that kind of thing you have there. But when it comes to offensive, there are actually a good few offensive things here. And that's what we're talking about in the next video. So you can please notice them, or you can view other videos. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of those things, you have a whole bunch. If you don't want to view other videos, I'll just say this. Bye bye for everything, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your existence.